Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are going to smash. We are playing Mono Red Sneak Attack, aka Sneak and Breach. We got Sneak Attack, we got Through the Breach, we got a bunch of fast mana, Seething Song, Spirit Guide, Lotus Petal, bunch of soul lands. We're just trying to do this early and smash down something big that wins the game. Whether that's Atraxa to draw us a bunch of cards and get us another round, the Emrakul to strip all of our opponent's permanents, the Blightsteel Colossus just hit in one hit regardless of our opponent's life total, the Ghalta to then put other monsters into play, or the Archon of Cruelty, which is just a fine thing, especially if we're getting to attack within one turn. So they lose 6, lose 2 cards, we draw 2 cards. Not a bad little cruel ultimatum right there. We've got some disruptive elements like Trinisphere and Chalice Void, which can lock some decks out, as well as being able to stop them interacting with our big go turn. And then we've got the One Ring, which we can play and reload or find our pieces with. That's pretty much it. I've been playing some pretty grindy decks lately, like the blue-white control deck and some Rug Food Chain. So it's nice to play something a little bit smashy today. Sideboard-wise, we've got some removal for annoying creatures. We've got some Blood Moons to lock certain decks out. We've got some Graveyard Hate. We've got some hate for decks that go underneath us. And we've got some Fiery Confluence, which can deal with little creatures, or it can deal with some artifacts. And that is what we're playing today. So please remember to like and subscribe. And if you want to see my videos early, £1 a month is my YouTube membership fee, and that gets you access to my videos early. I usually have a few in the bank beyond what is currently released. And if you can subscribe to help me hit my 5,000 subscribers goal for my birthday in April, that would be wonderful. All right, let's do some smashing with some Sneak and Breach. We are on the play for round 1, which is exactly where we want to be. What does this hand do? We can go Shatterskull Smashing into Sneak Attack with nothing to put in. We would need to draw a monster. I think we can do better. Our deck is pretty explosive. This hand does not do anything, so we have to send this one back as well. We don't have any manipulation to find our monsters, so we can't just keep a hand that doesn't have anything to put in, even though we have a relatively high number of hits in our deck. Certainly more than the blue decks, because we don't have the way of manipulating our hand to find them. Okay, this works. We'll keep this. So we want a mountain, probably an ancient tomb, Emrakul, Sneak Attack, and then we're probably just binning these two. Yes, the ancient tomb does hurt us, but it allows us to play additional lands. We don't just want to Emrakul our opponent immediately. I wouldn't mind getting some permanents for our trouble. And maybe we're in a situation where we have to try and play around days. Maybe we can find something like a Chalice or a Trinisphere. We'll see what the next couple of draws do for us. A blue deck, so we do have to worry about counter magic. Do we also have to worry about Wasteland? So we could Seething Song here, and that plays around days, because we have another Seething Song next turn. So if they daze this one, it doesn't matter. If they have daze and Wasteland, we could be in trouble. Let's go for Sneak Attack. Alright, we're going to get some action here. I'm just going to be a brainstorm looking for some help. It is. So then we have the question of, do we just dome our opponent for 15 and blow up one of their lands? And just try and draw another sneak attack. Another monster for our sneak attack. I think that's a reasonable position to be in. Alternatively, we can wait. The problem is, if they have Brazen Borrow, I guess we just go again next turn anyway. We're just getting this in before our opponent gets to cantrip and find answers. There's not many things that will kill this. Brazen Borrow will bounce it, which is obviously annoying, but it's not going to be the same as, this doesn't get prismatic endings very easily. Up the beanstalk. Alright, so now our opponent has 3 permanents we can blow up. I feel pretty good about blowing up 3 of our opponent's permanents. We could cast this Seething Song, so we get to play Trinisphere as well. I'm down to clown with that. Cast a Trinisphere. If they have a daze, this could be annoying, but when they're with the white build, I don't expect them to be a daze deck. Bug Beans has daze, but like the 5 colour builds don't, as a general rule. So they're going to lose 3 permanents and not be able to cast anything on the Trinisphere, and we just need to find a monster and sneak attack it in. I did say we were going to smash, and smashing we are doing. Okay, so our opponent's on 4. They're not going to be able to cast any spells for a few turns. And then we get to, hopefully, just find a monster at some point. Like now. They probably want to see the cards from our... Okay, they're not seeing the cards first. That's good for us. They should have had a look just to see what we're up to. Okay, so our opponent is a multicolored deck here. The Blood Moons are exactly where I want to be. Where do I not want to be with the cards in our hand? How useful is Chalice? They're going to have a decent chunk of stuff like Brainstorm and Ponder and Plow, but they're not going to have like a bunch of one-drop threats and stuff. They're trying to break the restrictions of up the beanstalk by playing stuff that has a higher mana value that they pay less for, like Leyline Binding, Solitude, that sort of jazz. I think Trinisphere is just such a big haymaker that we definitely want to keep that in. So I guess the only other thing we can cut is the Chalice. And just try and Blood Moon them. Chalice stops specifically Hydroblast, which is quite interesting here. Do I think this is a one-ring game? Maybe we'll keep 2 Chalice and have 3 one-ring. Right, let's try that. This is a turn 2 Blood Moon with nothing else really going on. Do I think the Blood Moon is going to resolve? Not really. I guess we can turn 1 Blood Moon if we use a Lotus Petal as well, actually, when we're talking about turn 2. Alright, turn 1 Blood Moon I'll keep. We will need to find an actual way of winning the game, but we have a monster, we just need one of our things that puts them into play. Alright, Lotus Petal. Let's cast this Blood Moon. First things first, they're going to fetch. I guess if they have a Surveil land, they might want to counterspell this and then fetch. But this way... Alright, they're getting their basic planes. This gives them access to Leyline Binding in a few turns' time. Quite a few turns' time, though. We just need to find ways of putting big monsters in. Right, they've also got an island as well. Pretty good. Blood Moon, not quite as effective as it can otherwise be. A Blightsteel Colossus. I'll just play a basic mountain here. And we're trying to find stuff that puts these big monsters in. Right, they've done a Brainstorm at our end step. Now what? Now they have a mountain. So they're getting closer to this Leyline Binding. Another mountain, not what we want. Let's pass it over. We didn't get to completely shut our opponent down like we wanted to with this Blood Moon. Alright, so now they have the Leyline Binding. And they get all their mana back. Unfortunate. Now they were still operating pretty well underneath this. That's a Fairy. Okay. We're not really trying to play instants or anything. We're just doing sorcery speed haymakers. You can do an end of turn, an end of your opponent's turn through the breach and then have it on your turn, but I don't think that's really what we were planning on doing anyway. I am not confident we're going to resolve a big spell here. We need to draw Sneak Attack and probably just keep drawing Sneak Attacks until our opponent runs out of counter spells. Because they've got a full grip of cards in their hand, and we are somewhat struggling. Obviously, if we resolve a spell, we basically win the game. Our opponent only has 6 permanents right now. They're probably going to have their 7th permanent in a second, so we'll be able to keep something, even if we do Emrakul them. Up the beanstalk. Okay, things are certainly slipping away, but we have a must counter spell here for our opponent. I guess they can bounce it with the Trinisphere, with the Teferi. I wonder why the example on Trinisphere in the reminder text uses 1 and a black spell. How many times has this been stopping black spells? Not that often. Don't know, it's just interesting to think about. I thought maybe it would have been white, because if they're just going through the colour pie, it's Wooburg. Alright, we got a Force of Will. Our opponent gets a card back off of it, so it's a 1-for-1 here. Pitch an additional Uro. Blue, blue, green. So if they have another green source, they can probably deploy the Uro pretty soon. They just need to put 1 more card in the graveyard. Now, obviously, if we resolve a big spell, we win the game. That's what our deck is designed to do. But we do have to resolve a spell. Sure, Triumph of St. Catherine is certainly smaller than all of the creatures that we have access to. But 2 mana, 5/5 lifelink that draws a card. Not a bad Magic the Gathering card right there. Obviously, Blightsteel Colossus doesn't care about our opponent's life total. Alright, Blood Moon. We're just going to keep playing these spells that they have to respect, and maybe we'll slip something through and win the game. This shuts off their Tundra and their Savannah. It's not even that good. It means that Uro is going to be a Pipe Dream, but okay, Spell Pierce. That's pretty good. Alright, we got a few turns of getting backed by this large procession of little creatures. If you're familiar with Triumph of St. Catherine from Warhammer 40k, it's like 8 or so models on one base. So it's like a lot of little humans that make up one model. That's why it's a procession of little creatures, as you can see in the artwork. And yes, I am a bit of a Warhammer nerd as well. Why not? Alright. We don't have much to talk about strategy-wise, so I am just talking about Warhammer, weirdly. A Murktide Regent. So 8+5 is not lethal. A Seething Song. So, we have some options here. We could throw an Emrakul at our opponent, which does nothing, or we could let our opponent hit us, and then try and Blightsteel Colossus them. I think that's the way to win this game. If our opponent has counter magic, we lose. If our opponent has another Murktide Regent that they can remove a couple more things from their graveyard with, then we lose. So they could like brainstorm into Murktide, then that would kill us as well. But you know, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. We could attack with the Archon if we did it that turn, but I think we just want to be able to try and actually win the game because we get one shot with this Through the Breach. Now, is it going to work for our opponent's 7 cards and 5 mana? Almost certainly not. But this is a way that we could win the game, and I'll take that over sort of floundering in the dirt for a few turns while our opponent just accrues more resources. They're bouncing their own Beanstalk just to get a little deeper. This means no hardcast Force of Will, but possibly Force of Negation, as well as whatever they have from this multitude of cards in their hand. Go to clean up, and now we sort of hit and hope with this Seething Song. They don't have to fear anything like a Pyroblast, because of their Teferi. Right, let's try the one thing we have. Spell Pierce? There's a Spell Pierce. Alright, let's go to game 3. The Blood Moon is going to be better on the play. I do kind of like these Chalices. I honestly don't know where to fit them. We can't really skimp on monsters. We can't skimp on mana. We can't skimp on things that put monsters in. So that just leaves the One Ring, Trinisphere, and Chalices as our only sort of flexible things. And like the One Ring will just win games on its own. Same with the Trinisphere. The Chalice is probably the weakest of those things. Maybe you want another One Ring instead of a Chalice. This does not have anything that actually works, so we will mulligan this. This is a turn to One Ring, but we also get to play the Trinisphere out first if we want to. That's fine by me. So the Trinisphere demands an answer, and then we can play the One Ring and eventually find something to do with our big monsters. And the Ghalta allowing us to put an Emrakul in would be pretty sweet as well. I don't think our life total matters in this matchup very much. It's just about pushing through our opponent's resources. If they have enough resources to stop us, then we lose. Is this going to be a Spell Pierce? It's a Brainstorm, so it has to be a Force here. If this Trinisphere resolves, I think our chances of winning this game are very, very high. Like in the sort of 80% ballpark. They might already have a counterspell and are just looking for different stuff to answer it with. So they might not want to pitch some of the cards they have in their hand. They might as well brainstorm and see if they can pitch something better. There's a long old pause after they've resolved their brainstorm. Are we in? We're in. Okay. I think our chances of winning this game are very high. Things that can undo us is if our opponent is running Wasteland. Because yes, these 5 card decks can run Wasteland. But now we get an uncounterable One Ring. Draw a card. It's a mountain. We don't need to deploy these mountains. They will lose our Ancient Tomb. And currently we can just Through the Breach and Ghalta our opponent whilst putting in an Emrakul, or we just Emrakul, annihilate all their permanents, and then just rely on the One Ring to draw us enough cards to win the game. So our opponent could have something like a Prismatic Ending this turn, but the issue for them is they're already underneath the One Ring here. So it looks like they're holding up a Force of Will this turn. But we could just overload what our opponent's doing because the One Ring is a very silly Magic the Gathering card. Okay, I'm going to deploy this Blood Moon, I think. Stops our opponent playing Beanstalks and Uros. It's irritating for our opponent for sure. If this resolves, we can play a Mountain out. Okay, just hard casting Force of Negation, sure. But it's only a matter of time before we get to draw something that just wins the game. So they probably want Prismatic Ending or Leyline Binding on our Trinisphere. That's probably the line here to unlock their counter magic. Now there is a chance we just never draw anything and the One Ring kills us. But not today. We've got the Through the Breach here. Let's tap this. Let's play Mountain. That's Seething Song. Another Force of Negation here. It is another Force of Negation. That's fine. We can just do the Through the Breach next turn. I just discard a card. I get rid of this Lotus Petal. We're not casting that under Trinisphere, are we? I feel in a good position, but it is kind of scary still. But we can just send it every turn because of the One Ring. They're never going to be able to beat the amount of cards we're getting out of this. It looks like they were going to cast an Uro, which suggests to me they don't have any permission in hand right now. A Murktide Regent. Okay. They don't have the mana to pay for any spells underneath Trinisphere. So they're going to lose the game here. So I'll play out this and I will cast this Through the Breach. I will just put in the Emrakul and blow up all their permanents. Because I believe the One Ring can find us what we need. So I could draw with the One Ring now. And then we take 4 and 4 and die. So we don't need to do that right now. We played a land for turn. We'll just let this shuffle the Through the Breach into our deck first. So we could have put the Ghalta in, but then and have the Emrakul. But then if they have something like a Leyline Binding to sweep our guy away, then we're in trouble. I believe we are just going to draw from the One Ring here. Okay, there is a sneak attack. That is enough. Have they got... What have they got here for 1 blue mana? Who knows? So, we'll tap this for mana. I will deploy this mountain. I will deploy this sneak attack. I will deploy this Ghalta. I will draw from the One Ring, because why not? I'll put some guys in. We came to smash. Let's showboat a tiny bit. Alright, we got the match. It took a little bit more work than I thought. It wasn't just a complete smash. We had to kind of wriggle a little bit. But yeah, the Trinisphere really shuts down how your opponent can play the game. And then we're just jamming haymakers until it works. Let's go to round 2. This is a turn 1 Trinisphere, if we want it. But it comes at quite the cost. I think we can do a little bit better than this. Nope, don't like that one. Okay, turn 1 Trinisphere. And then turn 2 One Ring. Can we do that? So if we put back the Atraxa, and I guess it's the Lotus Petal. Or no, we want more Spirit Guides like that, but this is going to go to the bottom anyway. So it doesn't really matter. So we go turn 1 Trinisphere, and hope that we're not going to get wastelanded. And then hopefully the One Ring will draw us enough to get us out of where we are. Underground Sea. Understood. Alright, we ballin'. Is Trinisphere good? We got a brainstorm response. I've seen that already today. Now these blue-black reanimator decks, despite being low on land count, have a quite easy time accessing more lands. Because they just have all these trolls that can cycle for more lands. Right, we're in with Trinisphere, so we're not getting reanimated on in the near future. If we can find another Simian Spirit Guide would be the best draw for us, and we can just dump this One Ring into play and start going. But I'll just take another land, is fine. It's a little bit slower to get it up and running, but it's powerful enough. If our opponent doesn't have land here, that'd be lovely, but they've got a land. Maybe they've got a third one as well, and they get to start playing the game. Oh, I don't mind a little Chalice of the Void action here. It's weird casting under Trinisphere, because you have to pay 1 and then the extra. It used to be worse casting this a long time ago with how the platform worked, but it's a little bit easier casting than it used to be. You just put all the mana in and now the program does it itself, whereas before you had to set your X value and stuff and pay in different intervals, if I remember rightly. Right, our opponent does have a third mana, but they can't cast any 1-drops. So no Entomb, so we don't have to worry about the big scary monsters. Oh, we're on Esper. Baleful Strix. That is an unimpressive creature. A Lotus Petal. Sometimes you've got to do what you got to do. Looks a little bit ugly. Another Baleful Strix. Doubling the clock. But I believe this One Ring will do enough for us to win the game. It prevents us taking damage for a turn. And then we can kind of go from there. It's Time Walk and Ancestral Recall in one handy card. Let's draw this. Okay. Nothing useful just yet, but we get to see 3 more cards next turn. 1 from our draw step, 2 from the One Ring. Our opponent's on 17, so an Emrakul hit isn't lethal. Obviously it's going to do a lot of work, but we will still need to find those extra 2 points somewhere. Our opponent might just hold open mana now, like High Cast Force of Will looks like what they're representing. We can power through it with just drawing lots of cards and just playing spells. But we don't have an infinite amount of time here. Orcish Bowmasters. It's annoying, but if we're about to Emrakul, then now they're out of mana there. Ah dear, it's not really the one there, is it? I don't think we get to tap this Ancient Tomb again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we're just dead. We just didn't hit anything off our One Rings there. Unfortunate. Our opponent is Esper. Do we want to play Blood Moons? I think on the play we want them, maybe not on the draw. And again, I think it is the Spirit Guide that is the weakest thing here. Okay, this is a turn 2 One Ring. Sorry, a turn 2... Well, it could be a turn 2 One Ring, but I think it's turn 2 Trinisphere. And that forces our opponent to interact with it. I think this is a solid way to play this game. We've seen the strength of Trinisphere here. I think we should probably have 4 Trinispheres and 3 Chalices. Because Trinisphere is kind of like a defense grid that also stops your opponent playing sorcery speed spells. It's kind of how it feels to me. So next turn we can jam a Blood Moon if our opponent just has a non-basic and say, okay, maybe you don't get to play any spells. But if they just have this, we're just going to play the Trinisphere, I think. We are going to take the damage. It's unfortunate, but I think it's the correct thing to do. So next turn we have the One Ring and Blood Moon. And by not playing out the Blood Moon this turn, hopefully our opponent fetches differently. Force Negation, pitching Baleful Strix. Alright, we got a 2 for 1. It's a start. That's some permission out of the way. Maybe we can resolve some sweet spells next turn. I don't believe our opponent has Daze in their deck. Certainly not in their hand, anyway. Let's cast a Seething Song here. I don't want to play a Blightsteel Colossus into a obvious source to Plowshares here. If they want to interact with this, they're entitled to. But I think we're going to play the Blood Moon first, and then we'll drop the One Ring. And then our opponent will be off white mana next turn, so when we through the breach with the mana we have available right now, I guess we won't have all this mana available next turn is the thing. We're going to need to find a little bit more mana, but the One Ring should be able to do that for us. Our deck has a lot of mana in it. You're seeing a Spell Pierce, a Hydro Blast. Okay. More interaction down. 4 cards left in our opponent's hand. They're going to get a Surveil Land at end step. Let's see. Nothing at end step. If they tap out, then we can try and jump this through the breach and just win the game. And if that doesn't work, then we can play the One Ring and grind. But we'll see how much white mana they have available. So what we ideally want to see here is like land, crack, play Baleful Strix or something. So just no white mana up, so this can go all the way. Because they can put 1 point of toughness in front of it, and we still kill them. But we have to see what our opponent is up to, really. They're cracking their Polluted Delta. Island, we're going to see a Ponder here as well. A Tamiyo. That can stop us from winning here. This means I think we are on the One Ring line here. A Force of Will. Okay. Opponent has 1 card left in hand. So the idea is they attack us, and then we just through the breach and kill them. I don't know how many plows they'll have in their deck. They might just be fully on trying to stop us. If we really want to, we can try and play this Blood Moon first, but we'll see what our opponent does with their turn. I imagine they attack and then crack for a clue. The -1 toughness, -1 power from the Tamiyo doesn't matter to us either. 11 is a good number. Is this a Ponder? If they Ponder here, and they won't have white mana available. We can try and shut them off with white mana first, but that shuts us off of some mana as well. How much mana do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 6. If we Blood Moon right now, we won't be able to through the breach next turn unless we draw a land. But this will stop us dying to Swords to Plowshares if our opponent has it. I think we play the Blood Moon here. Takes our opponent off of 2 colours. If they have a Hydroblast, this is definitely worth a Hydroblast for them. Okay. So now we can have full knowledge of the sort of interaction they have. because these lands are just going to be used to crack clues, but they have just a Hydroblast up, and that's always going to get us here. But this means we're not playing into a potential source to Plowshares. Cracking on the clue. Our opponent is gassing up quite nicely from this Tamiyo, but maybe it's time to resolve our Haymaker. Let's draw a land. Not a land. We have a sneak attack though. This takes us further away from Through the Breach, but it does win us the game next turn. Right, they did have a Force of Will. So now we just need the mana for the Through the Breach. Again, we're just going to keep stacking things that win. And eventually we'll get there. Our opponent is drawing extra cards, but they are limited in the resources they get to deploy. Like a Ponder takes away from all their blue mana for a turn. They've just got 5 spells in hand though. Seething Song. Let's cast this. Let's cast a Through the Breach. We got some more stuff? They do not. Big ol' Blightsteel Colossus. What a beauty. Love to see it. Okay. Yeah, I think I like where we've gone here. Let's just submit, I think. We have a sneak attack. Is that good enough? We got 2 monsters. I think we can do better than this. We really want some like Trinisphere action or Blood Moon. A turn 1 Blood Moon is pretty strong. I'm going to believe in the turn 1 Blood Moon. This means we're probably getting rid of... Is it City of Traitors here? I think it's the City of Traitors. We're willing to find a way to get through our opponent's permission. But our opponent isn't going to be clocking us very quickly unless they get a Murktide. That's the one thing we're trying to dodge, is like an early Murktide. Tamiyo is pretty solid here. Okay, Ancient Tomb. Lotus Petal. Blood Moon, please. Would you like to play this game on just one island? They might not have had a choice, to be fair. Interesting choice of island. I respect it, though. So they're just going to be cracking clues from this point out, I think. Until we can find the tools we require to win this game. Next turn, we can Seething Song into One Ring. Or we can hold the Seething Song if we draw a land. I don't think they're going to be tapping out of this island anytime soon, though. Caracas, good to know about. Doesn't impact some of our creatures. Atraxa, Grand Unifier. Right, let's cast a Seething Song, because maybe they counterspell the Seething Song. Let's play this. Lovely One Ring. This is easily worth a counterspell if they have it. If not, though, we're not under any life total pressure, so this can just run away with the game completely. So I think whether or not this resolves is kind of the ball game. All right, it did not resolve. Now, we can still draw land into Sneak Attack or Seething Song into the Through the Breach. We've got the monsters. We just need to leverage them. The Tamiyo continues to accrue card advantage for them. They probably have Hydroblast to point out Blood Moon at some point if they need to. Oh, now, in fact. Okay. This unlocks 1 more mana for us, which might be relevant. Makes it easier to cast the One Ring. Gets us closer to the Through the Breach, and we have Sneak Attack mana now. A Barrow Goyf. That does kill us quite quickly, doesn't it? A Mountain. Okay, every spell in our deck, like every one of our big monster spells, is now live. But we are taking hits here. So until now, our life total wasn't under pressure. It was just the fact that they're accruing more cards. They can flip the Tamiyo if they wish to this turn, which allows them to rebuy things like Force of Negation, Consign to Memory, or whatever. Hydroblast is pretty good here. So I think if I were them, well, I don't know what's in their hand, but I would want to try and get the Tamiyo in a position where it can minus next turn and buy back the Force. Right, cracking a clue. Like, there'll be 7 cards in hand. The chances they have something pretty high. It does have to be a free piece of interaction, but they've shown us the Force of Negation, which means they're running multiple forces. Okay. I don't really want to cast this that much. I'm hoping this gets counterspelled, to be honest. It did not get counterspelled. That's a little awkward. Because now we're down on mana. I was hoping that we could maybe stop what our opponent was doing. Interesting, they didn't seem keen on flipping the Tamiyo. This means they have permission that they want to spend mana on. But I think we're just going to get knocked down by this Barangoyf. No creatures. Is that Jace the Mind Sculptor? In 2025. What time to be alive? We're cracking clues. I don't think you want to crack them with your only blue and white mana. Right, they're just going to ending our thing. That's fine. Sneak attack. Here's the thing we have. Is it any good? Our survey says no. Okay. Next turn, let's try and sneak attack again, maybe. The Ancient Tomb is off now, though. I don't think we can win this game anymore. Right, I'm just going to scoop it up because we don't have the life to activate the Ancient Tomb. Yeah, lots of control spells to stop us resolving our big things. Like the games where we have Trinisphere are very different and we can crush through these decks. But when we don't have it, it is awkward. They get to trade their resources the way they want to. All right, let's go to round 3. We just need to find some red mana. How abundant is our red mana? 17 hits on red mana. That's pretty high. We'll keep that. That means 3 draws should statistically get us there. What flavour of Once Upon a Time are we? Are we Eldrazi? Are we Maverick? Could be Maverick, could be Nadu, could be Cradle Nadu, could be... Okay, it feels like a Nadu list. And now our Chalice of Void does not feel particularly useful. I'm just going to play this out. I don't even see the point of playing out this. I think the 2 life that we saved might be relevant here, so I'm not going to waste it on the Chalice when they have the Shepherd. I guess that we can counter our Nomads with the Chalice, maybe. But our opponent is popping off over there. This could just be like old-fashioned elves. It's not old-fashioned elves. We're just going to get bashed for 2 here. We'd love to draw a mountain this turn. That would make me feel a lot safer. Seething Song. It's not quite a mountain, is it? Alright, let's put this on 1 just to stop hardcast Nomad. Instead of... Like, it's not going to stop Chord. A red source, though, and we get to pop off here. We get to put in both of these and kill our opponent. Many, many manas. Nadu, Winged Wisdom. They don't have anything to go with it, though. Now, they could Chord and kill us. If they get to do the Chord stuff, I'm just going to pass it over. Alright. Green Sun's X was 1. So this could be Crown Ranger. This gives them 1 look now, 1 look on our turn. This untaps the Noble Hierarch. So they have access to white mana. So if they have Shaman in core, they can cast it now. Is this just going to be a Chord? Yeah, that'll do. Don't want to play against that. Okay. This is where your friend of mine, Fury, comes into play. So this is not a Chalice of the Void game. Is this a Trinisphere game? Trinisphere on the play will ruin our opponent's day in quite a big way. But we could also just play a Blood Moon on the play, which is very good against our opponent's deck because they have very few actual factual green sources. Underneath the Blood Moon, that is. Do I prefer the Blood Moon to the Trinisphere? I don't think so. Both of them on the play are pretty strong here. Trinisphere is not great with our own Fury. But if we have a Trinisphere, we don't need a Fury. There's a logic. Chalice is quite easy for the Nadu decks to get around. Now they can just Zenith for a higher amount to get the things they need, or Chord. They've got Besagis in their deck, sometimes up to 3 of them. What does this hand do? Nothing until we get some more mana. I think we can have something that actually does something. Alright, we can have a turn 1 Trinisphere. I will take a turn 1 Trinisphere, please. It does come at a cost. Am I willing to pay that cost? I think so. Are we keeping this Blightsteel Colossus? I really want the mana here, so we can just play this Trinisphere straight up. I guess we could throw back the Seething Song and eventually just get there with mana. I think I would rather be in the Nadu deck rather than our deck for this one. But we'll see. Trinisphere is a very oppressive Magic the Gathering card. Like, this is our opponent not casting any spells until turn 3. In their deck that wants to try and combo on turn 3. So we can start playing these out. Or we could just wait until we have some Seething Song action. Or possibly we draw, like, Spirit Guide. They probably just have the 1 Savell land. I think that's what was in the build I played the other day. Dryad Arbor. Boom. They've got a threat. We're on notice. Ancient Tomb. Okay, this makes me happy to play stuff out now. That is an awkward play, but I think it's correct to do because we need red mana. If we draw the One Ring next turn, that's going to be annoying. Alright, there's a Nadu. So they could just kill us next turn. A sneak attack. Okay. We need 2 more turns here. Are we going to get 2 more turns before our opponent combos us off, though? Nomads in Court. So they get 6 cards here. They don't really get to play spells, but they can play them through... Okay, they have a Cradle now. I think we're happy to say I don't want to play that game anymore. Yeah, Nadu deck is really strong. We needed to hit a little bit better on our mana. If we'd have kept the Seething Song and bottomed the Blightsteel, we would have been fine. But we didn't know if we're drawing a monster or mana or what. So, with hindsight, we could have had a hand that would have won the game. Alright, so let's go to match 4. I have no lands in this hand, so this is a mulligan. Kind of an awkward one. We need 1 more mana, then we really get to start doing stuff. I will keep this, though. I don't know what we're supposed to get rid of. Probably a Song? Yeah, the one time today we haven't played against a blue deck. It was the Nadu deck, which just went bigger than us quicker. We should have played out this Petal, I think. But, again, it's do we play into Prismatic Ending or not? Oh, Wasteland. Understood. I'm going to play out this time. Prismatic Ending decks tend not to be Wasteland decks for the most part. Eldrazi Temple. Okay, I know what we're up against. It's a Fleshraker. We could die next turn. Cool. We could die this turn. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. I think they need an Ivogin to kill us this turn. So next turn they can probably get us. Come on, deck. A Lotus Petal. Let's play this one out. Let's cast a Seething Song. We're asking for a lot here. Let's get our One Ring down. A Ghalta. That's not really what we're after. So our opponent can't ping us with Fleshraker stuff this turn. But we are quite far behind on the old mana front. They can't Thought Not Seer us. Although that's not really what I'm worried about right now. Okay, we've got Kozilek's Command from our opponent. Glad we're not getting pinged for this at all. This could just be setting up for a really brutal turn next turn. If they have an Ivogin, they might be able to chain some of these, play some more Fleshrakers, and just drain us out in one turn. Cradle, okay. And what have we got? Worldbreaker? That'd be cool. Haven't seen one of those for a while. Sowing Mycospawn. Okay, so we're not going to have any lands. Fun. So they get to blow up our land because this for some reason hits basic lands. And then they also get to go and find like an Ivogin for themselves, which they can start tutoring for stuff with next turn. Because they got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures. This taps for 5, 6, 7. So they can just tutor and then cast something. Yeah. Tutor and cast a Mycospawn next turn. Are they still going? We've still got some more horrors beyond our comprehension. Oh yeah, just kick in a second Mycospawn. I guess this one isn't kicked actually. But still pretty scary for us. I don't believe that this One Ring is going to be enough here. Ancient Tomb. So they can cast something big if they want to. We're going to play this out and it's going to die immediately to their Wasteland. But I think we're right to play it out. 4 cards in hand. The ability to Ivogin and get a Mycospawn here. We need to draw like... Maybe we're supposed to keep this in case we hit like Lotus Petal and then we can Seething Song. But yeah, this is pretty brutal. Fortunately for us, we've got some Blood Moons in the sideboard and we could play them on turn 1. We'll just F6 through all this nonsense and see how bad it goes for us. I think maybe we're wrong to play out this City of Traitors. So we're getting hit for what? 6, 7, 8 this turn, plus how many pings. See if they got any even bigger monsters for us to worry about. Maybe we should have stuck to playing the grindier decks, because at least I have a bit more agency in those ones. Because this one feels like I'm just Hail Marying every round. Obviously, we kind of signed up for that today. After you play a 4.5 hour control league with blue-white control, You kind of want something a little bit simpler and smashier. So that's where we're at. Okay, so we're going to get Thought Not Seared here. That's pretty strong, but not the end of the world. So they can take the sneak attack most likely. I get to see what we're about. Yep, we take the sneak attack. We're on 14, we take 3, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I think we should have kept the City of Traitors in hand now. We take 2 from this, and we have 1 draw step and 1 ring activation to get us where we need to go. It's possible. Probably. But not like that. Okay, let's get our Blood Moons in, please. I also don't think that the Trinispheres are particularly useful. So Trinisphere and Chalice are both things I'm looking at getting rid of. So that gets us Blood Moons. It gets us Furies for any creatures that do get through. That gives us 1 more card. Do we just want something like a Fiery Confluence and just strip out some little guys? Or do we want like a 1-of Trinisphere? Maybe play it early doors. But all their lands tap for 2. So I don't really think that's a great idea. No, I don't like this one. What is this? This is a turn 2 1 ring. I guess we keep that. We probably put back probably a Fiery Confluence here. Because the Fiery Confluence, so the Fiery Confluence doesn't do that much here. And through the breach, this means that they can't Thought Not Sear it away from us. Once upon a time. If we could just draw a Blightsteel Colossus, that would be nice, please. I would take one of those. Atraxa, that's also fine. Wastecape Battle Mage, and Null Rod. So we're not casting the 1 ring, is what you're telling me. A City of Traitors. Okay. So next turn we have Through the Breach, either via a Seething Song or without a Seething Song. We do need a creature, but we can cast it either way here. So this is going to name Eldrazi, so they can blow up anything they want with this when the time comes. An Atraxa. Okay. I will cast this Seething Song, which is 5 mana. Do I want to play the City of Traitors out? I think I do. Just in case. I would like to keep some red mana around, is what I'm thinking here. Can we splice? No, it's way too much mana to splice this. Maybe it's wrong to use the Seething Song there. But I'm hoping this Atraxa does some real work for us, because we have a lot of different card types here. Okay, nothing that puts creatures in, but we could take this Blood Moon. We could take this Lotus Petal, that's our artifact of choice. We could take the Seething Song, that's our only instant here. We've got a sorcery, that's our only sorcery. So we have Blood Moon ready to go. And then we just want a big monster to finish our opponent off. So that's probably just going to be the Emrakul, isn't it? And then the Lotus Petal gets us the Blood Moon. And then we just have to build up to the Seething Song mana, which shouldn't be that difficult. Let's Petal out. I guess we didn't need the red mana if we think about it a little bit more. Because we have the colourless lands that tap for 2. But we've already played 1 for the turn. Oh, we can't activate this. Oh no, we can't put the Blood Moon in right now, can we? That was a bit loose. But we get to attack for 7, and then we get to kill our opponent next turn. But we did want the monster anyway, so it wasn't loose. It's still the correct choice to do. So our opponent has to hit us next turn. We don't get to Blood Moon them right now. I think if we take Simian Spirit Guide instead of Emrakul, we've already got Through the Breach. That is a foolish play. It's just unfortunate it doesn't quite work out how we want it to. We've got some more life to work with here, though. Just a little Kozilek's Command. I think if we prioritise getting the Simian Spirit Guide there to do the Blood Moon, over just having a thing that wins us the game next turn, that probably ends up quite poorly for us in the long run. Because they get a colourless thing here, and then they're not a million miles away from getting this kicked and doing some stuff to us, and we'd have to find... I guess we could always 1 ring and draw some cards. Maybe it's correct to just do the Blood Moon there. I'm not sure. But I think representing we win the game next turn is pretty strong. Even if they take our Through the Breach, we've still got a bunch of other stuff that's really strong here. So Microspawn. Okay, that's fine-ish. So if they get I don't think they can get anything unless they've got fast mana in hand. Yeah, a Wasteland, sure, that's fine. That slows us down a little bit. But it's not the end of the world. We can just play this mountain, and then next turn we can Seething Song into Through the Breach. We can put Ghalta in if we want to, and then that gets us an Emrakul. Emrakul doesn't seem great into the Wastegate Battle Mage though, so we probably just put the Emrakul in and bash. Blow up all their permanents, or a lot of them, and then have a good time. Caracas is something that they can't really get because they don't have the tools to do that in their deck. So I'll play this, I'll pay 3 life, yes. They've already seen this Seething Song, so they know what's about to happen, I think. Alright, they're just scooping it up. They know we have an Emrakul and Hags, they saw it earlier. Okay, I like our sideboarding changes there. Do we want this another Fiery Confluence to deal with the pesky Null Rod? I don't think so. Like, it's irritating. It's nice to have one, but we can just kind of go through it a lot of the time. Can we just go in, try and make big guys, win game? I want to turn 1 Blightsteel somebody today. That would be lovely. But we haven't got that many games left to do it with. Turn 2 Sneak Attack. Turn 3 activate Sneak Attack, kill their thing, draw some cards, maybe activate again. I'll take that. I'm going to play a mountain first. We can't be wastelanded. We could play the Ancient Tomb in case we draw something like a Seething Song. We want. I guess if we draw a Seething Song, we're still fine, but we could get more red mana that way. If we no, that's fine. Yeah, we could have if we drew. No, I don't think it matters either way, right? We just want to not be wastelanded here. They revealed a micro spawn off of their Once Upon a Time. We're going to get Thought Not Seared. They can take a Sneak Attack, but we have another one. The question is, do we play it out into the Wastegate Battle Mage, or do we hold it into the Thought Not Seer? They did not have a Thought Not Seer, so that's good news. So we'll definitely play one out because we have a spare. It's not every day you have a spare Sneak Attack, and maybe we even draw the bit of fast mana we need to really pop off right now. That would be delightful. We did not draw what we wanted there. Okay, let's deploy the Sneak Attack. Next turn, we get to put an Emrakul and an Archon of Cruelty and our opponent dies. Traditional show and tell builds are very good into Eldrazi. We are not a traditional show and tell build. They could have Wastegate Battle Mage and blow this up, but then we just play another one, or we hold it until we have an additional mana in play, where we see what we draw. Right, this looks like they're blowing up our thing. Yep. So this means we're not getting Thought Not Seared. So this kind of played around both of them as best we could. We take 3, that's fine. Opponent's got 2 cards. Through the Breach. I think that means we're playing the Sneak Attack here. And just saying, can you do it again? And if you can't, then maybe we through the Breach and blow up all their permanents. I suspect it's difficult for them to win after they've had 6 permanents annihilated. Not impossible though. Are we going to get a little Kozilek's Command action, dig in for an answer to the Sneak Attack? We are indeed. Let's see where they put this card. On the bottom. So it was not a Wastegate Battle Mage. I'm enjoying this long pause from our opponent. It suggests to me that I'm about to put an Emrakul and an Archon of Cruelty into play. A Yavimaya. Have we got something spooky they can get here? 5 mana. We're going to get the Devourer, Desolator, whatever it's called. The 7 mana thing that blows up our permanent. That'll be irritating. But again, we're 1 mana away from Through the Breach anyway, so it was right to play this one. Alright, we're digging. They're digging, leaving enough mana so they can kick this Wastegate Battle Mage. I think they could have gone 1 deeper. But I guess they want to keep the options open, maybe. 3 on the bottom. So we'd like to see. So they could Thought Not Sear us, but they can only take 1 Emrakul. Like, I guess they could take the Archon so they're not dead, but then just lose 6 permanents, but then maybe try and beat us down. Or they take this, Through the Breach, but then they don't have anything to stop Sneak Attack. I don't know. Thought Not Sear, sure. Guess what we have, opponent? Monsters. So I think the correct pick here is the Archon. Or Scooping is also fine too. Alright, we beat Eldrazi. Show and Tell variant's pretty good against Eldrazi. I think we're okay against Eldrazi. Felt alright. 4 rounds in, we are 2-2. So we're going for the positive record in the final round. Let's jam. We could keep this, just waiting to find our thing, but we have no real manipulation to find it, so I think we're supposed to mulligan until we can assemble something. Nope, let's mulligan. Alright, this is close enough. So, we have an Ancient Tomb, we have a City of Traitors, we have a Mountain, we have a Sneak Attack. We could put back a Ghalta, But I think we're putting back the 2 Chalices here. Do we put back 2 Chalice? There's so many Chalice to put back. Like, Ghalta is kind of the worst monster. But I don't just want to be sit there with no monsters. Alright, deck. If we find any other monsters, this becomes great. It's still a 12-12. It's like a nice 1 mana, 12 damage spell. But we're also having to spend 4 mana for sneak attack. Tamio. Alright, we're going to be trying to Trinisphere our opponent, I suspect. A Blightsteel Colossus. Okay. I like that one. So we can play the sneak attack around a day's next turn. I think that's the best we've got. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We on this Esper. I think there was a recent challenge that had 2 Esper decks in the top 8. They were quite different as well. One of them was a little bit more tempo-y and one of them was Stoneforge-y. So there's definitely people experimenting in the space of Esper at the moment. So we wouldn't be surprised if this was Esper. Could also just be Phyrexian Dreadnought. Right, the Tamio is flipping. What do you got for us, deck? An Emrakul, the Aeons Torn. Well, we're going to do the thing we have. We don't have a lot of agency with our deck. We just have to jam. I said I was going to smash, and we're smashing right into a Force of Will. So our opponent can just get back this Force of Will and have their bases covered for our next threat. And then maybe we just lose. They will need to present something that wins the game. And I would like a little bit more information if our opponent is on Dreadnought or not. A Wasteland. So we probably lose the Ancient Tomb here. There it goes. Because the City of Traitors will die on its own anyway. So if we're trying to cast things like Sneak Attack, it comes at quite a cost here. They got back the Force of Will like I thought they would. This game is basically over. A Through the Breach. If our opponent gives us enough time, then maybe we can assemble what we need to. It's just a case of what is their win condition and can we play enough Haymakers before it kills us. So their win condition could just be drawing all these cards and then winning with whatever's left, like Murktides or whatever. That's fine. Simian Spirit Guide, 1 mana away. We could also try an end of our opponent's turn Through the Breach, untap, and then try and get them. So Through the Breach, we put in the Ghalta, it puts both of these in. That's pretty tasty. And then maybe we can untap into another Haymaker to sort of tax our opponent's mana in 1 turn cycle. I'm certainly going to give it a try. Tamio is ticking upwards. We have to have another piece of fast mana in order to do that Through the Breach play though. And we know about their Force of Will. I highly suspect they have a blue card to go with it. Shatterskull Smashing. I guess. And we know this isn't going to resolve, but we need to get through our opponent's permission. And running headlong through it is a plan, I guess. Wait, what? They're letting us do it. They've got a Force of Will in hand. What are they doing? Alright, I'll put this Ghalta in. And I'll get some more guys. They really don't have a blue card? Why are you brainstorming if that's your only blue card? I think we're going to kill the Tamio here. Maybe this is Jeskai Control, and they're just going to Wrath us. But this is indestructible, so it doesn't care about Wraths. So they probably have to rebuy this Plow and Plow this, but then how are they dealing with this? I guess they have to have Supreme Verdict, another white source. Okay, now they just need a Supreme Verdict. We have a lot of life. That went weird. The fact that they didn't want to Plow, didn't want to Force of Will Through the Breach is kind of wild to me. Like, what if we threw the Breach to Emrakul there and blew up all their permanents? They must have had an answer for it, like Consign to Memory or something. That's a main deckable spell in some shells. Our opponent looks like they might be on a sort of grindy Jeskai build. Alright, they return to Ponder. Maybe they don't have an answer for this Emrakul. That would be nice. Wow. Why did our spell resolve? Why did our opponent cast their Brainstorm? I have no idea what happened on our opponent's side of the board there. Weird. Alright. Do I want Blood Moons, or do I want to just stop all their cantrips and stuff with these Chalices? Is it Dex Perfect go back in, maybe? Or do I want to change some One Rings into Blood Moons? Maybe on the play we can have Blood Moons, but I think we're just going to jam with what we have here. If we take our opponent's ability to sculpt away from them, it's going to be harder for them to assemble multiple layers of protection, and we can just hopefully just jam. But yeah, I don't understand why we won that game. Our opponent had Force of Will blue card, then cast a Brainstorm, and then let a Through the Breach resolve. They clearly didn't have an answer to Emrakul, so why were they letting the Through the Breach resolve? They must have spent their only blue card. That's so weird. You don't need to do that. We jam. We can jam with his hand. I enjoy a bit of jamming. They mulligan to 5. Okay. They really want a Force of Will, I guess. I do not blame them. Our deck is basically a Force of Will check deck, but it's got a few other little levers it can pull in Trinispheres and things. Which is kind of like just adding more Force of Will checks to your deck, I guess. What you got for us? We could try and go on turn 1. I don't think we should. I'm going to play this Mountain. So turn 2, we can Seething Song into Through the Breach or Sneak Attack. A Wasteland. Okay. A Dreadnought. Okay, we're just doing Dreadnought things. Do you have Force of Will blue card in hand, I guess, is the next question. So we can play around Days. So it's just Force of Will blue card that we're worried about. I'd like a Lotus Petal. I'd like this City of Traitors. I would like to cast a Seething Song, please. So we can Sneak Attack and Activate is pretty strong here, obviously. Because we have an Atraxa to activate for a second time. They did have Force of Will blue card as their last card in hand. Okay, so there is an argument for Through the Breaching there, but I wanted to be able to play through Permission a little bit better. So now they Wasteland our city, they bash us for 12. We have to draw... I don't know what we have to draw here. I don't think there's anything that gets us out of this jam. That was basically the perfect 5-card hand. Wasteland, land, Stifle, Force of Will. Obviously they've had to draw an extra card at some point there. Okay, that's us roasted there. Yikes. Do we cheese them with a Blood Moon? And what does that come at the cost of? Probably 1 rings. Try and just cheese. I don't mind that. Try and win the game on turn 1 where possible. Maybe this is the turn 1 Blightsteel Colossus game. It's the last game of the night. Maybe it will be. This hand does not play. Let's mulligan. This hand makes a turn 1 Sneak Attack. I guess we keep. Get rid of the Song. It's a little sketchy. But we came here to Force of Will check people, and that's what we're going to do today. Boo! We are dead. Well, we're not dead, but we're not in a great spot anymore. You can certainly see why people don't play this deck very much. We have very little agency, and we can be collapsed quite easily. A City of Traitors. I think we want this in. This gives us the ability to Through the Breach next turn if we draw it. And shove this Emrakul at our opponent. So I probably wouldn't have activated the Sneak Attack if it resolved them, because I don't believe they can answer it for 1 or 2 mana very easily. And I would like the Emrakul to actually do something, because just hitting them for 15 and blowing up 1 permanent doesn't feel very good. Or 0 permanents, or whatever it is. Alright. Is it time to Through the Breach? No, it is not. Okay. We do have a copy of the One Ring in our deck. We've obviously boarded some out for Blood Moons to try and just cheese turn 1s. Alright, it's our turn. Seething Song. We're not quite up to 15 mana for the old Emrakul yet. We're up to 9 mana. It's not a million miles away. We just need to draw 3 more Seething Songs and some Spirit Guys, I guess. Our Life Trail is not under pressure at the moment. I wonder if this red mana is just for Pyroblast out of the sideboard. I suspect it is. Maybe Meltdown as well. Right, we've got a flipping Tamiyo. So there's a clock on this game now. When this pops, we don't win. They can also get back a Force of Will next turn. So we probably need to try and get something going right now and hope that our opponent doesn't have anything. Well, they did not Force of Will our spell before when they could have. Or, well, they could have. They cast their blue card, I have to assume. Right. Can we put this one to bed? Do I play this out into their Prismatic Ending? Probably not. We've got 10 mana though. Not a million miles away from Emrakul. That's not how we're going to win this game. If we hard cast Emrakul, I would be flabbergasted. Okay, Doorkeeper Thrall. Are we going to see some Dreadnoughts and a Force of Will in their hand? Could well be. Force of Will in their hand. Are they going to play some Dreadnoughts? Mole Drifter, pretty good too. I think we take one more draw step. And I don't know what we're supposed to draw here that gets us out of this bind. Channel, maybe. Yeah, we're just not going to break through what our opponent has here. I don't think they're going to be foolish enough to make the same mistake they did in game 1. Alright, so that's the end of the league. And we finished with a 2-3, which is kind of more or less the ballpark where I'd expect this deck to go most of the time. Sort of between 2-3, 3-2. Let's talk about the list. So, the ceiling of this deck is really high. You just, like, Trinisphere your opponents don't get to play the game. You know, you can sneak attack some stuff out and just smash people down, and it's great. But the lower end of what this deck can do is very little. And we certainly caught that a couple of times. Our deck is basically a Force of Will check and can get collapsed quite easily. There's a lot of Force of Will in the meta right now. Like the two best decks probably being Delver and Blue-Black Reanimator in terms of converting top 8 challenges. So they both have Force of Wills in. And the Nadu deck, if we can get in underneath them, sure, but they're a pretty solid deck. Maybe we're supposed to mulligan more aggressively, but there's only so much we can do. We're trying to assemble A plus B, but also we don't have that much mana. So, we have all these cards and stuff, but we don't have the ability to do much unless we're casting our 4-drops, really. So we need 4 or 5 mana. So if you look at a mono-red prison deck these days, they're basically half mana, but they have things like Chrome Mox, so you can play stuff up the curve a little bit more. And they have a bunch of 3-drops. We don't really do that. We just go straight into 4-drop town. And that's fine when it works, but there's going to be more times when that doesn't work. And if you want to play like Stompy red stuff, you can play that. You can just play mono red Stompy, and that deck is very, very good. It's the most played deck in the format right now, and I think it's the third most in terms of decks that have made top 8s of challenges. And if you want to play like your show and tell stuff, you can play blue. Unsurprisingly, blue makes your deck better. You get access to things like Force of Will and cantrips that smooth out the problems that this deck has. Now, I don't think Sneak and Show is a brilliant deck, but I think it is significantly better than Sneak and Breach. I have played different versions of this in the past that felt a little bit better, so I might have to go back and see what we did differently those times. I once played a build with Inferno Titan, weirdly, which is interesting. I think we had more just like raw mana sources. Maybe we were running some other bits and pieces. I can't even remember now, but it feels like this deck is just a little bit too mana hungry, which makes it too easy to collapse in multiple angles. Almost feel like we want like a mana rock, right? If we have like 2 mana like talismans, we go turn 1 Ancient Tomb Talisman, turn 2, that makes it way easier, and it also fixes our colours, which is a problem sometimes because we got a lot of colourless lands in our deck. And there's obviously a lot of raw power here, but I think it's not the most enjoyable thing to play. Like, it's sometimes fun to smash from people and do a big Ghalta and get 3 bodies out in one time. That is pretty cool. But there's not a lot of play to it. So you kind of play it once or twice, and you can definitely improve on how I played today. I'm not calling myself a master of this deck by any stretch of the imagination. But the learning curve isn't a particularly long one with a deck like this because you have so few choices to make. Like, the choices you make with this deck are fewer than most decks, right? The mono-red Stompy decks, there's a few more choices in there. Because your stuff's lower on the curve, you have more sequencing choices. You also have, like, what am I sacking to broadside? And there's a little bit of combat mass and stuff going on, whereas we don't really have that. We're either doing the thing or we're not. And more often than not, we're not. There's a lot of nots in one sentence. Apologies for that. So yeah, not really a deck that I'm a big fan of, but I can certainly see the attraction. I couldn't imagine like playing this as my main deck day in, day out, because I feel it will get stale relatively quickly. But sometimes you just need something a little bit smashier when your brain is a bit frazzled from the leagues you've been recording the last couple of days. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.